Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Out of Shape podcast, where the trio of out of shape, retired white guys give their terrible sports takes. Now, we're not going to do the intro again today because we have to focus on March Madness. So the intro is going to be NBA. Actually, quite a lot has changed since we talked last. Are you done? Okay. Quite a lot has happened since we talked last, but then again, who cares about the NBA right now? March Madness is going on.
So the Pelicans are red hot, baby.
That's actually what we're going to talk about in a second. Way to just go over the outline. Okay, so we're going to talk about first. The biggest thing that happened since we talked last is probably, actually, would you guys say this is the biggest thing? I would say it is. Jimmy Butler and Spo going at it face to face, mouth to mouth, cheek to cheek, butt to butt, mouth to butt, butt to mouth, mouth to cheek. Jerry,
No.
you're the Heat fan. Let's hear your thoughts on it.
People are overreacting. They are the 1 seed still. They're about to have a 2-game lead for the 1 seed after the Bucks lose tonight. The 4-game losing streak obviously is concerning. They just don't have that. Jimmy Butler is a superstar, but he's not a superstar at scoring. He's not that guy to go to in the fourth quarter. That's Tyler Hero. And Hero only played 2 of the 4. So when you don't have that guy to come off the bench and get you the buckets you need in the fourth quarter, it's hard to win basketball games. So I don't find it concerning at all. Still the 1 seed. Hopefully we don't play the Nets. If we play the Nets, we're a first-round exit. That's the only team that will knock us out in the first round.
Especially with Kyrie back full-time now.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of hotheads on that team, you know? Haslam, Spo, Butler. I mean, they're going to clash heads, but the next day they're going to be fine. Yeah, like you and me.
All right, Drew, what do you think?
Here's what I think. I think
That's what I asked.
I think that this stuff is so stupid that it gets talked about all the time. You're not telling me that there's going to be
Facts. Facts. He's speaking facts right now.
Word for word.
Honestly, Drew, you took the words right out of my mouth. All right, so while Drew is frozen, I'll finish what I know he's going to say. It's blown out of proportion. Teams and players are going to clash, especially when they're just losing games, when they're supposed to be winning games. Things got heated. Udonis didn't help a whole lot either, to be honest, but he stuck up for Spoelstra, which is good. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Drew would have said. People fight, coaches fight. I fought before with my coach. Anyway, Drew's gone now, so now it's the best podcast yet. I'm just messing with you, Drew. We'll wait for him to come back. Actually, no, we won't because this is the intro. The Celtics. All right, welcome back, buddy. I finished your thought for you, so you're welcome.
I do not know what just happened.
Yeah, you're speaking facts.
I already clear. All you're gonna say is they got blown out of proportion. Players and coaches fight. It's not a big deal.
Yes, this happens. It happens all the time, and I hate that people even in high school when we were playing, the amount of times that we watched Connor Hayka throw a basketball at Kyle Road, that stuff would be
nice. We're not supposed to don't name drop.
No, I don't really.
Name dropping is like the number one rule.
Dog, if Kyle or Connor has a problem with me name dropping that, then that's fine. They can both call me.
All right, fine. I won't name drop, but I believe every name you say in this.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, it's not like, did it happen or did it not happen?
I think I clashed my senior year when we were losing, and it did not end well. But
yeah, that's because you're you. At least Kyle had a body to back it up.
What are we doing here? All right. Anyway, moving on. The Celtics.
So moody.
On our outline, when I wrote our outline, this is before Robert Williams got
Woke
hurt.
up feeling dangerous.
This is before Robert Williams got hurt, but the Celtics were the favorites at one point. I would say. to win
Yeah.
the whole thing.
The whole thing.
In my opinion, they were so hot. They were playing such good basketball since the All-Star break. They became my favorites and no longer a dark horse to win. But then
No, the Phoenix Suns will win the
Yeah.
NBA title.
before Robert Williams got hurt, the Celtics were by far the hottest team. No one was stopping them. But
People
he's
are still having trouble
such an
stopping
underrated
him.
player. He is such an underrated player, and now they're losing games without him. So
Well, I mean, you look at their two big men. You have Daniel Tice, who's 6'8" center. I mean, any good big man in the league is going to body him. And Al Horford's about to turn 57. The only thing he can do is shoot that
he's
three
such
ball.
an anchor. They lost such
So,
an anchor
yeah.
on defense.
Yeah, without Robert Williams, they have no perimeter or interior defense, and it's
They did get a nice
kind of
pickup with
embarrassing.
Derek White though at the trade deadline.
Even though Marcus Smart in an interview did say he can guard all 5 positions. So we'll see how true that is.
I like to see him
Yeah,
guard.
Marcus
Rudy
Smart
Gobert.
is very underrated.
He's not guarding
great
all 5.
defender. He's not going to be able to guard a guy like Bam or Rudy Gobert or Karl Anthony Towns. He can guard 1 through 4, but not 1 through 5.
All
Right.
right.
Kyrie Irving also said the world was flat. So
Well, Kyrie also didn't play half the season.
Yep. Next, Drew. That point made 0 sense.
yes,
the
it does.
Lakers-
It's just the basketball players, they can say stupid things,
No,
but they're still
that
good
hasn't-
basketball players.
Basketball players just like to hype themselves up, even though I'm not letting Marcus Smart go. If I'm a center, if I'm 7 foot and I'm Marcus Smart in the paint, I'm pleading for the ball.
Well, Mickey.
I mean, Marcus Smart is a physical man. I would not. He's not like Isaiah
I'm
Thomas
on my
down
knees.
there.
I'm on my hands and knees begging, please throw in the paint. And then I'm dunking on him. Anyway, the Lakers
never
look to
been
be
in the
done.
paint.
The
You don't even know what
Lakers,
the paint is.
I don't, but the Lakers look to be done. But that is not to discredit teams getting hot down the stretch, like the Spurs and the Pelicans. The Spurs have looked very nice recently, and so are the Pelicans. Do you think the Lakers are done? Are they out of the play-in?
I mean, right now, I think they're half. I guess the Spurs play tonight. So I mean,
They lost last night.
Yeah, they lost last night. The Lakers play tonight. If the Lakers lose tonight, I think the Spurs
Before
are back in that.
before
10th
the
spot.
Spurs last lost, they won 4 straight, and the Lakers had lost. They're on a 3-game.
The
losing
Lakers,
streak.
the Lakers are about to play on TNT. But I mean, I think right now the Lakers are ahead, but if they lose tonight, they're back to the 11. But yeah, that's right. But
I think
the Lakers just can't play defense. That's their problem.
yes, it's atrocious.
I don't think they have enough. They just don't have enough players who care. Like, it's okay if like LeBron is like, all right, I took a possession off. I've scored 50. But then you have Russell who's like, I've taken 50 shots and have 6 turnovers. I'm gonna take this possession off. And then you have Melo coming off the bench and he's playing no defense. And
No,
then you have
LeBron
no one
can't
playing
take possessions off. He's the 10 seed in the West right now.
He's 37. He's taken possessions off his entire life, and he's got
okay.
4
Then
rings.
change up his minutes.
Yeah, you know what happens if LeBron's not playing?
They have no offense
He's
without him.
37. Then
Exactly.
I'd rather have 4 defenders or I'd rather have 5 defenders and 4.
Well, they don't
They were
even
just
have
a
one defender.
Terrible. You should build your team around LeBron, not LeBron around your team. And they didn't do a good job of putting the pieces they needed.
Yeah, because
Around
they're
them.
LA and they want to get all the stars. And
Yeah, it
all
didn't
the
make any
stars
sense.
are old and
If-
can't play defense.
It's pretty clear how the Lakers versus the Clippers have been able to put pieces around.
Because the Clippers have actually built youth and
Yeah.
not just gone out and got
Hey,
the stars that don't play
Reggie
defense.
Jackson, I mean, goodness.
And Paul George is back.
Yeah. Speaking of the Clippers, Paul George.
Dropped 37 in his return. Best team in LA once again.
It's just pretty impressive that they looked rough in the first quarter. Finals, it was like 34-16 at the end of the first quarter.
Yep.
They came
Paul George
Shout
had
out
to
to-
remind everyone he's the best shooting guard in the league.
Shout out to Reggie
He's not a
Jackson
shooting guard,
for
he's a 3.
rejuvenating his career in LA.
You would think Paul George is a 3? You list him as a 3?
Yes,
Yeah,
I don't
he's a
think he's
3.
athletic.
Is he not listed as a shooting guard?
He used to be Pacers Day. He was a shooting guard.
Yeah, I consider him a 3.
I always think Paul George is a shooting guard for the rest of my life. Because if they play, does Kawhi play the
After-
4?
Yes.
Actually?
Kawhi will play the 4.
No, they play Reggie, PG, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, and Zubac.
Yeah. So get wrecked. He's a shooting guard.
He's not a shooting guard. It's just the way their lineup. That's
I'm going to do some quick on-the-go research and look up Clippers Who did they play in the playoffs last year? Were they healthy last year in the
Nope.
playoffs? When's the last time they've been
They
fully
got-
healthy?
Last year, but they all got injured in the playoffs.
I'm just looking up
Yeah,
Chris.
PG's still listed as a shooting guard.
All right, that's all I need to hear. All right, he's the best shooting guard in the league then.
What?
When healthy,
Or what
No.
do you classify James Harden as?
Brick Ross.
Uh,
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen on Twitter. Someone called him Brick Ross.
I consider James Harden the professional choker.
James Harden has not looked the same since Houston.
Probably because he's put on 45 pounds. Those Philly cheesesteaks catch up to him.
Paul George is so good, and he's the best when healthy.
I don't know. I mean,
I take DeMar DeRozan over him, and I would take Donovan Mitchell over him.
Over Paul George
Yes.
when healthy.
Yes.
You're on crack cocaine.
How?
I might take DeMar this year over him.
DeMar and definitely not Donovan Mitchell. Donovan
on
Mitchell
crack.
is basically a lower level Paul George.
That's just not true.
Donovan
Paul
Mitchell's
George's
smaller.
defense is better. Paul George's shot making ability is better.
Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs goes crazy, though.
What's he done? He hadn't done anything.
Yeah, the
He
Jazz
drops 50 every night.
they normally choke in the playoffs.
His fault he doesn't have any good team.
The Jazz are going to be forever.
I'm not
as long
talking
as
about
they
the
keep-
Jazz. I'm talking about Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
Donovan
playoff P
Mitchell
is a
star
thing,
player on the
though.
Jazz.
You're right. Paul George in the playoffs is not very good, but Paul George.
So we're
he's-
going to critique
Paul
Paul George in the
George.
playoffs, but we're not going to critique Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell kills
he's
it
good
in
in
the
the playoffs,
playoffs.
though. He's good in the playoffs.
But he hadn't won anything.
True. Neither's Paul George, though.
George.
But I'm that's what I'm saying.
Also,
They both
you're hurting
both
your
have
DeMar.
one.
You're hurting your DeMar case then, because DeMar sucks in the playoffs.
yeah, they all three suck in the playoffs. They both all three never won anything.
Donovan Mitchell does not suck in the playoffs.
DeMar is one of the worst playoff
They
players
never
we've
won
seen.
anything. If they're going to be so good, they're these star players.
I didn't even mean
Donovan
this to get that deep. Paul George is
If
just
you-
really good.
If
He's
you
better
look
than Devin
at
Booker.
why
I would take
been
Devin
at
Booker
fault
over
for his
Paul George.
teams losing sometimes, Donovan Mitchell's never been at fault for his team losing.
He's just not as
In the
skilled as
playoffs.
Paul George. I'm picking Paul George every time.
No.
You're picking Devin Booker over Paul George?
I'm taking Devin.
No,
Booker
I'm thinking
over Paul George.
Paul George.
Okay, so you think Devin Booker's better than you think Donovan Mitchell's better than Devin Booker? Your logic is flawed.
Yes. No, it's not.
Anyway, that was not supposed to take that long.
Jerry just picked a Louisville guy over a Kentucky guy.
We mentioned earlier for a brief bit,
I could
which is
care less.
all right. We mentioned James Harden for a brief bit earlier, which is when I wanted to transition. Speaking of how good James Harden is or whatever, do the reps earlier? Was it earlier this week? Maybe there was an argument between who was it? The
Ty Lue.
Clippers.
It was
Ty
Tyronn
Lue?
Lue. Yeah. He said
Who-
that they get 40 of their points come from free throws.
Yeah, and then the Sixers. Who was it?
Put 40 on their head.
GM front. Was he GM or owner? Someone.
Daryl Moley or something like that.
I don't
his
know.
name.
Daryl
Um,
Morey.
Yeah.
Who is he? Who is he in the Sixers front
He's
office?
the president. He's the president of basketball operations. In the Sixers.
Okay, so he basically said that they foul him because they can't guard him, and Tyron said they just get bailed out. What do you guys think? I've seen some terrible Embiid clips of him. There's this one
I
clip
think
where he turns
I think-
around and shoots it like that, like he's on the free throw line and his back is facing the goal, and he shoots the ball and he gets called for a foul, and it's a shooting foul. That's not a basketball
This-
play.
there was a game in March Madness. I can't remember which one. It was a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 game that literally went like 8 minutes without they went through like 2 media timeouts without even having a dead ball. And predominantly is because there was no. Obviously they weren't blowing the whistle, but there were no fouls, and it was probably the most enjoyable I've ever watched just playing basketball. Officials should be there to call the obvious, but the nip and tuck and blah 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 and hands on, like that stuff just needs to
The baiting.
drop.
It's the baiting. There should not be a foul called on a non-basketball play.
It's just the NBA, the way NBA is officiated is just it's ridiculous. Like let these guys just play, and the players should stop trying to be cheap and draw these stupid fouls when they're not even playing basketball, just trying to go to the free throw line.
Yeah. Jerry, you have anything to say about that?
No, I mean, you guys pretty much summed it up. It's annoying to watch. NBA playoffs is better. The
Because
refs
the refs
don't call
study.
it.
They study a lot.
The refs are assigned to 2 teams for a 7-game series. So I mean, it's a lot better than
The worst thing to me is
Regular
whenever a
season.
player is guarding James Harden and he goes under their arm and hooks their arm.
That's not even a basketball move. That's just trying to get fouled.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's been in the game for 20
I
years
just
now.
hate baiting. Just get rid of baiting.
I
That's just
hate
baiting
when
a foul.
referees just blow the whistle every 10 seconds.
All right.
Like,
Anyway,
just let them play.
let's get into March Madness. We spent a long time on the NBA when it was really just over small topics. So the Elite Eight happened, and I don't think any of the teams I wanted to win won. being
Let's also
honest.
say the Elite Eight was horrendous.
It was trash.
All-
Elite Eight
all
was
blowouts.
So
Terrible to
boring.
watch. Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
It was the matchups were terrible, and none of the teams I wanted to win won. Like 0.
Besides St. Peter's, been kind of a mid March Madness, I'd say.
I think
Yeah,
it's been. I think every other round besides this has been good.
I mean, St. Peter's was a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
Like their historic run. But I mean,
think
other
UNC's
than that,
run is
like,
getting overlooked because of St. Peter's.
but UNC is a very good program. They've been
No,
a very good program.
I'd say like
They're an
Miami's
8.
run. Miami's run's getting overlooked.
True.
Tennessee never made the Elite Eight before. Put up a good fight against Kansas, led at halftime, but Bill Self must have did something to those Kansas boys because they came out looking like a whole new team.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah. Miami just didn't have the pieces to beat Kansas, which is rough witnessing.
I mean, yeah, their
Besides
big man
that,
fouled out. Killed
we've
them.
let St. Peter's just whenever like UConn and Kentucky were like, what were they? What were the seeds were they?
8. Kentucky was the 8. UConn was the 7.
We were like, wow, a 7 and an 8, and both of those are blue bloods. I mean, I guess you can classify UConn as a blue blood,
And both teams,
maybe. modern day blue blood. UConn.
yeah,
UConn was a very
UConn's
good program at that time, though, when they had Shabazz Napier.
Yeah, but
and,
my point
UConn's
is
a
just
blue.
because they're blue bloods doesn't mean you can't discount the fact they're an 8 seed in the Final Four. Because
I mean,
we were
they're-
like,
UNC.
we were high.
Yeah.
We were high whenever UConn and UK were playing each other because they were so low.
But I mean, they see that both teams Kentucky beat Wisconsin and UConn also. I think they played Florida in the Elite Eight. I don't know who they played in the Final Four, but I mean the roads they took to get there, they had to beat the top seeds. You know, you don't see a 10 seed or lower beating those top seeds all the way up to the championship game. Maybe Butler was the last one before them. So I mean, once you get to that point, you're not considered a Cinderella because you're beating those top dogs.
Yeah, UConn beat Baylor. Or not UConn. UNC beat Baylor bad.
I think-
or could have beat them bad.
And
I
beat
think
UCLA.
UNC since the beginning of the conference tournament has played like a top 10 team in the country.
They have the
I'd say they
talent
got-
by far. They had the guys.
They
Like,
caught
they are
people's attention. They caught people's attention when they went into Cameron Indoor Stadium on Coach K's final
Yeah.
home game and beat them by 10.
They
And
did
if you
not.
see
After that
Coach
game,
K,
that's changed my whole perception on UNC season. Like they are
Coach K-
they're a different team now.
Coach K's about to draw up the game plan of his lifetime.
Yes, that's the
against
issue.
UNC.
That's the issue about beating them. He spoiled the night of his life. You think he's taken like any rest since finding out he's playing UNC? No. This is the biggest this is probably the biggest game of his career so far. Like in his mind.
It's probably the biggest storyline game.
In
a
his
while.
mind, he's thinking, I get to play Duke's, my number one rival for so long, and possibly my last game when they beat me on my whatever ceremony night, my last day, my last game in Cameron Indoor. He's not taking his rest, but also Hubert Davis can coach too. So
Yeah,
UNC. Go ahead, Derek.
This is the biggest Final Four storyline probably since Kentucky Wisconsin rematch. So it's a great thing for March Madness, and it's Duke versus North Carolina, first time in NCAA tournament history. And
It's also
K's
good.
last year.
It's also good because this is gonna be a good game because Kansas and Nova is about to be the most boring game I'm ever gonna watch.
Yeah,
It's
no
gonna
one
be
is even
so
talking about that
boring
game.
because it's gonna be so
I mean,
boring.
yeah.
You're gonna have a bunch of. It's too fundamental. The game is gonna be too fundamental.
So Villanova lost their best 3-point shooter, so that does suck. I forget. I think it's Justin Moore.
I
that's his
think
name.
Nova beats Kansas though. I want a Nova UNC rematch.
That'd be crazy.
I would love to see that.
4 years in the making. 5 years in the making.
I would love to see UNC win first year with a new coach.
Hubert.
I'm
You think
I'm
Roy
pulling for
Williams will
UNC.
I love Hubert
Hard.
Davis.
I think a lot
was
of
a big fan when
Americans-
they hired him.
It was a great hire. Also, I had to break down that game, and UNC just has like the guys. Like,
Yep.
Caleb Love is so good. Orlando Bacot is so good. Larry
R.J.
Beard is so
Davis.
good.
Who'd you say? Larry Beard? RJ
all-
Davis is really good too.
They're all just they're like Drew said, they're a top 10 team. They just had their rough patch during the regular season.
Their problem would be if Baycott gets in some foul trouble, or if Caleb Love or RJ Davis get in some foul trouble, because they're not a deep team. Neither is Duke, but I think I'd worry more about if Baycott gets in foul trouble, because nobody else on that team can guard Mark Williams.
Yeah, I think they match up nice besides just who's going to guard Banchero.
Yeah, he's gonna cook.
Because their
Yeah,
best
I mean,
players are everyone but
tournament.
their forward position.
Yep.
Anyway, let's see what we got. Drew want to talk
KD,
about.
KD for the win. In and out.
All right. Who do you guys think is the best? I think the obvious. Drew guys want to talk about this. I think it's obvious who the best player is. So it's pretty much an argument of who the second best player is.
Carroll and Baycott.
I would argue Caleb Love.
Baycott has an ACC Player of the Year award right next to his name, by the way, buddy.
Which is
I
kind of
would
crazy. He
argue-
won over Banchero.
Gillespie.
I mean, if you look at Baycott's, Gillespie's also 25. He shouldn't be even the
He should
conversation.
have a wife and kids and be living in a house right now, having his job as an accountant, feeding his children.
Yeah.
Remember Perry Ellis at Kansas?
Yeah, he's like, what, 27?
No, he was like 45. He had a bold spot. He was already outgrown.
I
He
mean,
didn't know he could graduate. He just kept playing.
it also speaks to how good UNC is that we're arguing over the second best players, both being from UNC.
Yeah, UNC is a really good basketball team. Like, I think they have like a really good shot at beating Duke again.
I think UNC beats Duke, they win it all.
I
don't know. I don't know who will win it all, because
It's pretty much.
I
I
don't
think
know,
this
but
is a pretty
I think
solid
it's-
Final Four.
I think it's pretty even. I don't know who I would – if I was a betting man, I don't know who I would bet on.
I wouldn't bet on Kansas, but I could still see them winning it all.
yeah, but Bill Self's gonna Bill Self.
Facts. Such an overrated coach. But I saw this thing on Twitter, and it was kind of a good point. How often do you see these like super good coaches get out coached? Like, you don't really ever get.
But think about the coaching in the Final Four. There's 4 really good coaches.
Yeah, they're all going to be in the Hall of Fame. I imagine Hubert Davis is in the Hall of Fame too.
I mean, Krzyzewski, Hubert Davis, Jay Wright, and Bill Self. Like, that's like
Hubie still got a long way to go, but
after
you're
this
right.
year,
he's
he
gonna be a good
looks
coach.
he looks like North
Speaking
Carolina's in
of,
good hands, which is nice.
It's still Roy's team though. Like, all those guys were there from Roy, so it'll be interesting to see how he does in his upcoming.
I imagine
classes.
this helps a lot.
Oh, without a doubt.
this will help.
I'm sure Roy still helps him.
I forgot to talk about 3 of these teams are certified blue bloods, but Nova is the one team where we're like, they're a modern day blue blood. At what point can you what are the so it's Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, North Carolina. Those like the
I
blue
would throw
bloods.
Mississippi State,
UCLA
potentially.
maybe.
UCLA.
And then you have the modern day Blue Bloods, which are
UConn.
Nova, UConn,
Michigan State.
What?
Izzo. Is that like what? you're-
Izzo? Yeah, I'm just saying Tom Izzo.
I don't think he won enough
I
though.
don't really say Michigan State.
Just look at the successful teams. Besides that, Nova, UConn.
Nova's definitely one.
They're gonna, but at one point, I guess you can go ahead and consider them Blue Bloods because they're so successful already.
Jay Wright.
Would you argue
made it.
that Tennessee's getting to that point?
No, they haven't won anything.
No, you have to win something.
I know, but they've had.
You can't just be Blue Bloods is the teams that are successful and they win.
UConn
Yeah,
won like
Blue-
3 championships.
Yeah.
What 20 years?
They won
Some-
2 in the past decade.
That's a Blue Blood. Jay Wright, how many has he won? 2.
2, 2016, 2018.
Virginia?
And we're going Virginia's only got 1, and then
And
they
they're
got
very.
also got,
I'm talking about like teams who are we constantly Nova up there. I mean, we used to constantly see UConn up there.
yeah. Nova's 1 in my book, and then UConn kind of fell off. I wouldn't consider them 1.
Not anymore. I like their coach though. Let me honest.
You UConn had a good team this year.
You like their coach?
Yeah, but everybody thought they were kind of frauds.
Yeah. Anyway, I would consider this a Blue Blood Final Four, and honestly, it looks really good for the NCAA because it's really good whenever Blue Bloods are winning.
Except for UK. Thanks, Cal.
They just got beat by the best Blue Blood, St. Peter's.
Yeah, St. Peter's is certified.
Hey, shout out to
Cinderella.
Shaheen Holloway. I don't know if y'all saw some of his press conference today, but
He's a great guy.
Good dude.
Insanely
He's like
good
a
guy.
Great dude.
During his press conference, he had all 15 of his St. Peter's players there, and he gave them 2 standing ovations. He said he wouldn't.
You know
He
that
started tearing up. And he
That's
said he
pretty
wouldn't have got there
classy.
without him.
That's
Yeah.
pretty classy on his part. That shows like who the person he is, like to have all of those guys there.
Yeah,
for him. I mean, that
it
just
really.
kinda shows
Yeah,
the
you're right.
coach they have.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, how many? Like, he left him. Like, essentially, how many players would be like, man, this guy left us after we did
Did you
so
show up to
good.
Coach V's press conference?
All right, quit name dropping, Drew. Anyway,
And
anyway, it just really speaks on his character that he would change. Well, we all knew he was going to leave because honestly, he
Yep.
didn't have the money to. He didn't. They don't have the funds to give him enough money he deserves.
Dude, every win gave him another $1 million.
Really?
I'm just saying, like
Like on his
every
contract?
time he won in advance to the next round, that just upped his money.
He also played at Seton Hall, which was nice.
Yeah,
I
he
played
also-
at Seton
he
Hall's
also-
favor.
alma mater.
Yeah, was he assistant there before he went over
Played
there?
He played.
I didn't know if he was assistant or something.
He also played with Kobe Bean Bryant in the McDonald's All American.
I saw that, which
You
is
guys didn't
cool.
know that?
Really cool. Really good
He
guy.
just
Hey,
he
shout out to
carries
Seton
himself.
Hall.
He carries
Sucks.
himself with a lot of class too.
Yeah.
So that's nice of him.
Underdog mentality, even though they shouldn't have been there. Like, realistically, they shouldn't have been there, and they got
Yeah,
it
it
there.
should have been Kentucky.
He made his team think that they could beat Kentucky, Murray State, and Purdue with full confidence, and that like they weren't rattled until the North Carolina game.
Yeah,
They
they,
just
were
think he
like
got to.
no one.
That was
I
by
think it
far the
finally
best team
got
they've
to
played. Best team they've played.
I think it got to him when they got to North Carolina. They got off to a slow start. Every other game they got off to a hot start, a slow start. I think it just killed them, killed their confidence.
But because North Carolina actually played, I feel like the teams were playing down. North Carolina played them like they were every other team,
Well, North
pressing,
Carolina's
getting in them.
North Carolina makes it hard to come back on them. Obviously, Baylor came back, but that's after Mr. Beard got ejected.
Your best shooter is going to give you buckets on buckets.
All right, who has a? I want to hear what you all had to say. What is more impressive, UMBC or St. Peter's?
St. Peter's,
St. Peter's.
No doubt.
Virginia is the easiest 1 seed to beat because of how slow they play. So if they have an off night, they're wasting probably 25 seconds of possession. Off night shooting, they're very easy to beat.
St. Peter's is the GOAT Cinderella. Not close.
They beat Kentucky, who's a very fast-paced team. They had the National Player of the Year. They
Also,
beat Murray State, who had
a favorite to
30
win it all.
wins. Yeah, Murray State, who had 30 wins, and Purdue, who had 2 7-foot guys. That's an unreal Cinderella run.
They didn't even get they just got outplayed in the end.
Outplayed and outcoached.
I wouldn't even consider them outcoached, if I'm being honest, because I had to break them down, and all North Carolina did was pick and roll, get the switch. and
Oh,
then
are
just
you saying
attack.
against North Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying against Kentucky, Murray State, and Purdue.
Oh, yeah, he
Shaheen
just-
Holloway outcoached him
Yeah.
like classily. I'm interested to see how he does there. It's a good Big East program. They usually are
They're usually up
top
there.
top five range.
Seahawks has some good teams in the past too. So and I imagine recruiting way
I mean,
up
yeah,
because everyone seems to love this guy.
Who wouldn't want to play for him? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they land a like. How often do you hear of Seton Hall landing a 4-star, 5-star? Probably not a 5-star, but 4-star.
Yeah, a coach that praises his players like that, but gets on them during a game. Who wouldn't want to play for?
That's
a guy
your
like
perfect coach.
Yeah.
It's your ideal coach. And
You can just see that he cares about him personally more than just being a basketball player.
yeah, and you don't see that a whole lot in terms of
especially
NCAA
college.
basketball.
College is like a transaction where it's like I help you, you help me.
Yeah, it's mutually like I'm giving you
Yeah.
free school. I'm giving you the opportunity to play pro, and you have to give me this and this and this. It's not like
A chance to go to my next job.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a coach take a job somewhere else and have all 15 of his players go to that press conference and then giving a standing ovation.
It's unheard of.
Because he said he started off saying like I wouldn't be here without them, and then the Seton Hall fans started clapping. As soon as they sit down, he said, "We can do better than that. I need a standing ovation for them," and they get up and clap again. That
Great
awesome.
guy. Anyway, to wrap up the podcast. We've had some good conversation actually. Great conversation this podcast. I want to give our predictions for the Final Four and ultimately the championship.
You go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I want UNC and I want Nova. Simple as that. I think UNC is hot as piss, and I think Nova is going to beat Kansas because Kansas doesn't strike me as a team that deserves to be in the national championship.
Give us your championship score.
I think Nova beats UNC in the championship. I think
Jay Wright gets his third in
Jay Wright
years.
is going to make his case as the GOAT when it comes down to it. 72-68 Nova. No. Championships are always low scoring. 62-58 Nova. Thank you. Also, look how cool my shirt is. It's like Moses and Abraham playing basketball.
That's so holy of you.
Wow, you must go to a Christian college. Where do you go?
Man, I must have gone to a Christian high school for 6 years and gone to a Christian college for 2.
You can't go to a Christian high school for 6 years. You want to go for 4.
Christian school.
Did you get expelled?
Yeah. Why are you not? Are you returning next year?
Being too gangster, honestly. All right, Drew, you're up. Let's go. Let's hear your predictions.
Hey,
Let's go. Yay.
Jesus loves me for free.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Duke and Nova. I just think that I don't know. I just feel like Duke is going to be fired up like they have been all tournament. Plus the Coach K, the way it went down in their last home game. I think, like you said, Coach K ain't going to sleep. I think Duke wins by – I think it'll be close, but I think Duke wins by like 5. And then I think Nova beats Kansas just because I straight up think Jay Wright is a better coach than Bill Self. And I think Kansas is a little bit overrated. And I think Villanova will end up beating Duke in the title just because I don't want Duke to win. And I don't want to hear about Coach K for 25 years.
I hope we all come to terms. At some point, we're going to have to come to terms. Duke's winning it all. Duke is winning it all. None of us want them to, though. Jerry, you can.
I think Nova wins 58-53.
I got Duke beating North Carolina, although I will be rooting very heavy for North Carolina. And then I got Nova beating Kansas by 10.
We all have Nova.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go Kansas. That way we don't all have Nova.
Okay.
That's just jinxing Nova. And then I'm going to do
I want
Duke.
Kansas too then.
I'm going to do Duke over Kansas by 10.
So
Coach K gets
Jerry
his
went the
6.
realistic answer because as soon as Coach K announces retirement, we all know Duke's going to win it all.
I mean, when you watch them play, they look like the best team in the country. Everybody's like, "Oh, Arkansas might give them a run for their money." Dominated them the whole game. Texas Tech's gonna give them a run for their money. They made 7 straight shots in the game. Michigan
I
State,
think
same way.
I think it's the best team in the country versus the hottest team in the country.
And the other two are the most boring two teams in the country.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the two most fundamental sound teams, it's just who has the best players, and I think Nova has the better players and the better coach.
I think Noah has a more experienced, better coach team.
All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. You look fat. Go on a treadmill, lose some weight, go on a diet. Thank you for listening to Out of Shape Podcast. Have a blessed evening.